All right, before I start today's video, I feel compelled to do this video, but I have to put this disclaimer in. All my videos are based on true stories. Names, locations are changed to protect the guilty. And with that said, I was at one of my local businesses, and there's a kid that I've known that I've seen at one of the local businesses that I frequent in the morning. And I was getting ready to leave the business, and he approached me with a very specific question. He's worked in the janitorial field probably since he was in high school because I've seen him around for at least 5 years, maybe 7. And every once in a while, he'll come up to me and ask me for life advice. And I will give it to him because when I was his age, there was no MillennialSteam. I got pitched when I was 16, starting out at university, that as long as I could do computers, I would never not have a job. And I'll tell you guys, I've spent most of my life living in complete poverty. Minimum wage jobs my whole life. Could never break free. Someone asked me why I don't work my university job anymore because it was a student job. I didn't have the right education in order to get a real job. So even though they didn't have to pay me, and this is the things corporations love, they don't have to pay you because you don't have the qualifications on paper. But if you're desperate enough to work for them, they'll employ you all day long. Because getting to pay someone minimum wage while they do technical work for you is should be a crime, in my opinion. And when you treat the job like it's nothing, they get pissed off about that too. I actually got fired from a job in the technology field because my boss thought that I treated the job like working at a gas station. Those were his exact phrases. I don't want someone that's not invested in this job. And that's the problem with all corporations. It's like, you're paying me minimum wage. I have other priorities in my life, like survival, and your minimum wage job and my desperation don't make this right. Anyhow, so today he asked me, is going into cybersecurity a good idea? And I said to him, no. There is no job right now, any job in our society that's going to guarantee you a living wage. I've been searching for that unicorn my entire adult life. And yet here I am, constantly smelling Mary Jane in my apartment because someone around me is smoking in their apartment and I can't get the smell out of my house. Do you think I live in a good place? Do you think I have job security or financial security? None. And the worst part is I didn't know how to explain this to him. Obviously, he has no higher education. He's a religious person. He is a great soul. He works very hard. I don't have an answer for young people right now. And I told him about Astra. Laid off from the tech industry until she had to go somewhere else. And I explained to him that computers 20 years ago was a great field to get into. My bosses back when I was a teenager lived like kings and had very simple jobs. Extremely simple jobs. We had a LAN guy. We had a WAN guy. We had network edge guys. We had network core guys. We had so many guys in a department that small. We had like 20 different specialists. In today's job economy, those 20 specialists from 20 years ago, there's one guy doing all of those jobs. Why? Because corporations have figured out that they can make one guy do the job of an entire department. Set up new desktops, do purchasing, and do cabling, everything. One guy. That's how backwards our society has gone. And how far the bar has been raised up for regular people. And so, as I tried to explain this to him in the most basic terms that I could think of, I had no solid answers for them. He wanted to go into technology, and I told him it's not guaranteed. If you come out of school and you have to get your first technology job, there's already 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people that can do that job, and they'll do it for less. In fact, this morning I was sitting at the salon and I was reading through this article that said that the average age of the person, the entry level person in the tech field right now, is 5 years older. Why? Because as more layoffs happen, you have highly skilled people having to take lower tier jobs. And another thing that might surprise you is that when it comes to the field of cybersecurity, and this is exactly what AI told me, is that a lot of the entry level cybersecurity jobs are now being done by AI. They're looking at logs, they're checking intrusion, they're looking at what those low level jobs would have been. So if you come out of school and you're expecting to get an entry level job in a field where AI has already destroyed all the entry level jobs, the only way you're going to get a job is if you're middle or high level, meaning 5 to 10 years of experience. That excludes all of Gen Z into those jobs. And even if you were to be able to get that job, they would pay you so little that you wouldn't want to stay. So let's get into my talking points. Let's get into my introduction and get this started. You know what's wild? We grew up being told that if we just got a good job, we'd be set for life. Meanwhile, every so-called good job today feels like a scratch-off lottery ticket. You might get a paycheck, you might get laid off, but either way, the house always wins. Capitalism doesn't hand out guarantees. It hands out burnout, rent hikes, pizza parties when you're drowning. Welcome to the economy where security is a punchline. That's hard to explain to a person who wants a better life. And that was the conversation I was having. He didn't care really what kind of job he got. He just wanted to get out of this minimum wage job. There is no trade. I can't tell you what to do, because if I knew what to do on how to get ahead in this life, do you think I'd be working at McDonald's? Do you think I'd be punching in every Monday morning at 8? If I knew the answers on what I did wrong, I went to school. I did what I felt was everything right. And yet I'm drowning in debt and I feel like I'm going nowhere. Just every year you're getting older. And that's something he pointed out to me. It's like, I work as a janitor. Every day that I come and I do this job, it's not making his life any better. And he acknowledged that, even as a very young person with no education. Talking point number one. They told us all kinds of paths would guarantee stability. Get a degree, learn a trade, grab a cert, climb the corporate ladder. But no matter which door you walk through, you're still standing in the same wage cage, while the people at the top cash in. Job titles change, but the bills don't stop. And that security that they promised never shows up. And that's the thing that I see with young people, is they don't know what to do because no one can tell them what to do. Not me, not your dad, not your teacher, not your career advisor. No one knows what's going to happen. We're all just pretending to be okay. But as I say on this channel all the time, the proletariat is not okay because they don't know what to do. Every career choice feels like another redirect to a minimum wage job, or a job with no stability. A job that's just a job. It will never provide for you. It doesn't care about you. And as soon as you feel that sense of being trapped, what is your first reaction? To run away. But run away to what? That's been my experience throughout my entire life. I've gone to hundreds of job interviews and not a single job that I actually wanted. What I did want was money. Something I just told the lady that was cutting my hair. She's like, I wish I could get a good job. And I said to her, well, you and everyone else. And when I said to her, I don't want a job, I want money, she looked at me like, that's such a crazy thing to say. Because for most proletariat, they're fairly ignorant. If you've been a hair cutter your entire life, let's say you've been haircutting for 10 years, you're 28 years old, you don't really think that much. If you're going to get stability in your life, it's going to come through a partnership. And in that partnership, maybe you two combined will make enough to afford a crappy little house in a terrible neighborhood. And you'll just sit there and you'll idle because nothing you do at that point is going to make things incredibly better for you. We just sit idly by until the lights go out. Talking point number 2. Every industry gets sold as the future until it collapses under layoffs, automation, or outsourcing. Manufacturing was supposed to be forever. Then it was IT. Now it's cybersecurity. AI doesn't ask for raises, vacations, or insurance. So corporations are replacing us with algorithms while telling us to retrain for another dead-end field. I have met so many people that went to trade school to do things like radio or carpenting or plumbing or electrician. The kid that comes to my apartment to fix my sink and my toilet, you can tell the he's not all there. And I know that feeling because when I talk to someone and they're not smart, I can tell right away. It's not that you can't think quickly or you can't articulate your thoughts. It's not anything other than you present yourself as an average person. I mean, while I was at the salon, I was forced to look at the big TV, right? And you guys know how I feel about Pro Bowl, especially on Sunday. Think about a mechanism for entertaining the proletariat. You have a halftime show. You have, and I hate to say this is how dumb the proletariat is. You have cheerleaders and you have people, adults playing child games for the entertainment of millions of people. Once you add in music and cheerleaders into anything, that is pro entertainment at its finest. Because think about how primitive that is. You have women in skimpy outfits jumping up and down for the entertainment of men. That's what cheerleaders are. And if that really does entertain you, then you are the lowest common denominator. And the worst part is that people spend all of their extra money on this sort of entertainment. Because what else do you do on Sunday afternoon if you're a red-blooded American? You may be broke, but you always find money for Pro Bowl. All right, talking point number 3. Job security is now just a marketing slogan. Whether you're coding, driving, teaching, or stocking shelves, your disposal, the second profit margins dip. Careers have turned into gig work in disguise, where loyalty means nothing and survival depends on timing, luck, and how cheaply they can replace you. The guarantee isn't stability anymore. It's churn. I tried to explain that to this kid this morning that job security, like he has had in the past 7 years, doesn't exist out there in whatever field he's going to go into. When you can have thousands of people applying for jobs every single day, and we know this is true because the jobs report showed us in real data. Whether or not those jobs reports are completely skewed, I don't know why you'd skew the jobs reports to look as abysmal as they did. But guess what? It's probably 10 times worse. Because being out there right now, looking for work, competing against thousands and thousands and thousands of people for the same job sucks. And the worst part is they know that there's always going to be someone out there with a master's degree, 10 years of experience, who's at their end, right? They can't continue going without some sort of job. And they will take that $15 an hour job and wonder why they had to take it. And the answer is simple. Because desperation is what corporations love. When I was working at Walmart after college, I wasn't there because I had a lot of options and I had things to choose from. I didn't have opportunity. There wasn't anything there. And that's exactly what I tried to explain to this kid is that you may get through school, you may get the certs, you may put yourself in a situation in which you're a good candidate. But a good candidate in today's job market isn't the candidate that they're looking for. They're looking for someone who's willing to lower their standards when it comes to work and take whatever you can get. And we see this all the time. It's not just a relationship with work. People lower their standards in all different aspects of life. Think about it. I mention this in nearly every video. I've had to lower my standards for housing, for the McJob, for the McWage, for the McNeighborhood I live in, for the ProMobile I drive. We're all constantly lowering our standards, and the quality of life has diminished so greatly because we're all lowering our standards so that we can continue to survive. Most people out in this job economy are not thriving, and not because they're not trying. There's nothing to thrive towards. How are you supposed to thrive in an environment that's so toxic that all you can do is hang on, survive day to day, work that gig job after your regular job? Just like Jennifer C is out there right now, and she heard me talking about this morning, and she put it in the comments. At least it's not so hot now in my car without air conditioning, and now I can do DoorDash without roasting in my car. That again, lowering your standards. And we become a society that no longer wants, no longer aspires to things. We're a society where we've set the bar so low that even when you're failing, you're still not getting to the base bar because we all have to pretend that everything's okay or else things can't continue. As I say all the time, you've got to hope or you've got to cope. And the other one rhymes, but I shouldn't say it on YouTube because the algorithm is always listening. All right, let's get into our closing monologue. So let's stop pretending job guarantees still exist. They died somewhere between outsourcing, AI, and your boss telling you to be grateful to have work. The truth is, we're disposable, and they're proud of it. But here's the kicker. If the system doesn't guarantee us stability, then we don't owe it loyalty either. Think about that. The next time you're pulling doubles just to stay broke because the only thing guaranteed now is that you'll take until you stop giving. Well, I don't know how I was going to weave that into my closing argument, but it would seem that being grateful to have any job is what we're aspiring to. If you're only looking for work that you can actually get and then staying at that job for years and years even though it's minimum wage, then what do we have to look forward to? In fact, today I was talking to the receptionist at the salon and I was like, you know what? Every time I come here, there's the same cars here. And she looked out to the parking lot. She said, that's a hair cutter. That's a hair cutter. That's a hair cutter. And you're talking about every car in the parking lot that was for a worker was at least 10 to 20 years old. There were no new cars out there. There were nothing fancy. It was either Hondas, Kias, or some other crap car. It was a parking lot full of poor people cars. I know this very well because in my apartment complex, it's full of poor people cars too. There's nothing new around here. Just like the same can be said about the jobs that are out there for people. There's nothing good out there. And if someone asks me, what chance do I have at a bright future? I say to them, it's a very simple way of looking at a bright future. If you come from money, you have a bright future. If you don't, you're going to have to haggle. You're going to have to figure out what you're going to do in order to make your future not abysmal, not end up on the street. And that's what we're all trying to do. We're all trying to figure it out, but not as a group. but as individual failures to start. Because that's one thing I heard today from the lady that was cutting my hair. She's 35, she has 2 dogs, she lives in an apartment, she's never been married, had a few boyfriends, and she asked me the same question. When will I get to start my adult life? And I said to her, the chances of that happening are not very good.